Well, this is the last thing that I really want to talk to you about with regard to the question of strategy and how we make a difference. You've been doing Israel activism and educating people for many years now, and I wanted to know from you what you feel are the biggest obstacles today to getting across your message. What do you find are the things that frustrate you the most, or you feel need to be addressed the most in order to break through and get the message out there?
So first of all, we have to address our own camp. The fact is we've not done a good job at educating the youth about Israel and about Zionism and about Jews and Jewish history. And so first, we have to get better within our own camp at educating our youth, helping provide them with the knowledge and the information that they need to not just be able to support Israel, but have pride in being Jewish and in being Israel. So they have a motivation and a willingness, but also the skills to be able to have these conversations. Now, the challenge externally is we are dealing with a younger generation that is easily influenceable, especially on social media. And what unfortunately has happened is the anti-Israel movement, those really out there trying to spread lies or take things out of context to spread ill will towards Israel, they have very quick, catchy, heart-wrenching things that pull people into their cause with very little information. And the message that they're putting out there today is that this conflict is simple, right? This conflict is one-sided. This isn't two-sided. You don't need to know both sides, right? One side is good and one side is bad. So why do you need to know about the bad side? Just know about the good side and support the good side, right? And that's, I think, one of the biggest dangers, right? Because this isn't a simple conflict. It's been going on for over 100 years. It's rooted in over 3,000 years of history. And you need to understand all of that to understand what's happening today. You can't just simply say, this is a human rights issue. No, why is it a human rights issue? Why has it become a human rights issue? What got us here? And so what we need to really push for is helping people see that it is complex. And if you can agree with somebody right off the bat that there is complexity, then there is what to talk about. But if the person just continues to insist that it's just simple and it's black and white, then there's really nothing to talk about. And so I think that's one of our bigger challenges is the simplification of this conflict, the way in which young people think that they can, look at a carousel on Instagram, of like two girls drinking coffee with little bubbles, of quote bubbles. And after, 10 of those, okay, now I understand the conflict. Like, no, I'm an educator. I've been studying this conflict for 15 years, and I still feel like I haven't scratched the surface. I still try to dive deeper. There's still so much complexity. And so, no, you're not going to learn it from Instagram. If you want to understand this conflict, you got to dive deeper. You got to take the time to learn more. And if you're interested in doing that, that's what we do. Stand With Us, the organization that I work for as senior educator, we provide that content. I run crash courses. If anyone wants to sign up for a crash course, you can go to my Instagram. On my bio, there's a link where you can register interest in a crash course. And the next time I'll do it, you'll get an email where you can sit 4 sessions, learn in more depth, I should say, about the conflict. Obviously, there's always more depth. But also the booklets that Stand With Us puts out, where we do try to take very difficult concepts and make them easy to understand, not simplify them, but make them easier to understand. All of that's available on our website. You do amazing work to, again, put out this information. And so we really have to take it upon ourselves to say, I'm not going to have an opinion on this issue until I understand it. And that's both Jews and non-Jews, Zionists and non-Zionists. It's not a matter of that. We all need to have enough information to have informed opinions. And the other thing that I would say to somebody is really simple. If you don't want to make the effort, then just treat this like every other conflict in the world, and the way you treat every other conflict, where you just choose to not have an opinion and you don't chime in. Because if you don't understand it and then you choose to jump on the bandwagon and post things that are anti-Zionist, what you can also ultimately be doing and what you are contributing to is growing anti-Semitism in this world. And I know that might not be any of these people's intention, but unfortunately, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And the damage is we've seen the damage that has been done. So either decide that it's too complicated and you just don't want to get your hands dirty and you don't want to dive in and just don't have an opinion the way that I don't have an opinion on most conflicts in the world. Or take the time, make the effort to educate yourself so that you can have an informed opinion that's not stuck in one place. Because guess what? The more you learn, the more your opinion is going to start to sway across that political spectrum back and forth. And that's the beauty of it. So I think the last thing is also one of the big challenges is how stuck people get in their perspectives and how unwilling people tend to be to open their minds to dissenting opinions, to people who think differently from them. Just because you listen to people who disagree with you doesn't mean you're going to adopt their perspective, but it might make you question your own. And that's a good thing. So I think the biggest thing is just we have to listen to each other more. We have to be willing to listen to people who we disagree with, because maybe, just maybe, that perspective will impact you a little bit and will strengthen you and will help you better understand your own perspective. That's what we need to be encouraging in this world today.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm always suspicious of people that are unwilling to hear arguments that differ with what they believe. If you are confident enough, if you're secure enough in your belief and your perspective, then you should be willing to hear anything and everything, because either it will help deepen and shape your perspective, or it will, because our agenda should be one thing. It should be pursuing what is true and just, and what is good for all human beings, and for our people. And as I said halfway through this discussion, that I wish more people, especially on the progressive side, would see what we're fighting for is a human rights cause. Israel is, in my mind, one of the greatest human rights causes of all time.
And Ollie, that needs to be explained, what you just said, right? I'm sitting here shaking my head going, right? Because I know what you mean, because I know the history. But what do we mean when we say that Israel is a human rights issue? It's the reality that for 2,000 years, the Jews wandered around this world, and wherever we ended up, we were persecuted. And the human rights element here is that what Israel did was it granted a historically and relentlessly persecuted people the ability to protect themselves. And that is a human rights issue. And just that in and of itself, right, is something that we need to be able to explain, that our young people need to be able to explain. When we talk about anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism and where they correlate, I think this is the primary point, right? It's not just that anti-Zionism will feed the anti-Semites out there. It's also that by denying the Jews that right to protection, when somebody says to me, well, I'm cool with the Jews, I'm not an anti-Semite, I have no problem with Jews, I just disagree with the Jewish state. So once you know the Jewish history, essentially what you're saying to me is that you're cool with Jews, you're fine with them, but you just don't care if they have protection in this world. And that makes me question whether or not you're actually cool with Jews and like Jews and want them to be safe.
Yeah, you're not taking.
And that's, I think, where it's correlated. And so we need to just explain these things, right? I mean, and somebody could reject it and say, okay, I don't care. Jews don't need to be safe in this world. Okay, well, now you've exposed your anti-Semitism. And now I can accept that and I can move on with my day, right? But at least now I understand where these people stand. So we need to educate more. We need to understand better for ourselves and then be able to explain that to other people better. And that's really where I think the direction that we need to be moving into is more education within our camp so that we can better explain ourselves to other people learning our history, understanding our history, which then once you do that, you hopefully will understand Israel.
Absolutely. Well, Charlotte, I think we're totally on the same page. Please continue to keep doing what you're doing, your amazing work in educating people. So just thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to us. We always love speaking with you. Our viewers love listening to your content from previous interviews that we've done together. I know they've been extremely popular. So thank you so much again, and hopefully we can do another one of these in the future.